All right, awesome. So rock solid friendship. so so Pinky really wants Starlight to befriend Mod Pie, right? And so the two of them, they go out for the day, and they're trying to like sort of do things together, because Mod Pie, I mean, like all she really likes are rocks, and then Starlight kind of likes magic and stuff like that. So they're like sort of different, but they're trying to build like this relationship and this bond, right? Because they both love Pinkie Pie. So they're really good friends, and so they want to like all be friends, which is totally cool and like makes sense, right? This idea that when you enter a new social group or you enter a new friendship, right, you're going to instantly attract new friends and grow with more people, because the people that you connect with and the people that you befriend, like they have, they're friends already, right? And so this is the same thing with Twilight, right? So when Starlight befriended Twilight, she befriended like all of Twilight's mastermind. And so Pinkie Pie is the same thing. She's befriending, her sister Mod Pie. And so they want to connect and do things together and build this relationship by focusing, again, on this dedicated time where they're doing nothing but trying to be together and have fun and build this connection and build this friendship, instead of focusing on anything else whatsoever, which is like super, super, super cool. So they go and they try, going through town and having fun and do thing after thing after thing together. And they're just like trying to connect, because they really, really want to build rapport with one another. So that, like, first of all, they're happy, and kind of more importantly, right, they want to like continue maintaining this total and complete mastermind with everybody that they know, so that they can grow and they can succeed and they can have a bigger sphere of influence and have an expanded power base of people that can connect with them, that they can focus on and they can build their relationships with, so they can have the best friendship possible and the biggest impact in their lives, which is like the coolest thing ever, right? And that all stems from their ability to stand back, walk back, and make it happen and have their success and have their motivation as a group. And so they really, really want to connect here, and they're trying their best, activity after activity after activity, to be positive and to stay in the plus and to be happy with each other. They're doing everything they can, but their like only problem is it's tough for them, and they're having a difficult time. Like so often, you make a new friend, you see a new social group, and you go into like a new part of your life, and you're really, really, really trying more than anything to get more done and to have bigger impact and to have a better connection with others. And at the beginning, it's like super cool, because you get on this initial growth curve, right? And you start up, and it goes really fast at the beginning. You're like, wow, we have so much in common, or we're like the best people ever, best friends ever. But then there's like this little plateau, and you kind of have to figure out, it's a make or break. You've got to have success, or it's going to fade away. And so you have to keep putting in the work. You have to keep putting in the effort over time. It doesn't just maintain itself; it can fade away. Like everything can fade away if you don't keep going on it. And so that's kind of exactly what they're doing. They're at this point right here where they've overcome like the initial meetup, and it's not like they're strangers anymore. They can see each other in a crowd. They know each other's names. They know each other's faces. They like connect with one another. But now they're at this point where they need to keep it going, and this is like the crucial time period where it either survives and thrives, or it fades away, and they don't want that to happen, right? So they're making this leap. They're jumping this gap into the future where they can be closer together and get, because they've already got the solid foundation, but they want to secure it for the future. They want to build this into like a relationship asset that will live with them and be with them for the rest of their lives, which is like the most powerful place you can be and thing you can do. And it all stems from taking it to that next level and not just stopping at, oh yeah, I know that person, but really going deep. And like it might take 48 hours for this whole process to go through. If you just like spend 2 days with somebody, you can be friends like literally for the rest of their life, which is so powerful. So you can have this connection, you can have this rapport, this build together, where like you're constantly giving each other value back and forth, and it just grows and grows and grows. And that's such a huge impact on your life. Like great example, right? I met this one guy, Dylan, coolest guy ever, at lunch the other day, probably a couple weeks ago, and I spent like 4 hours just building up this first initial relationship, this part right here, and getting a connection and building rapport and just learning about him and trying to win friends, right? And so now we're at this part right here where like we're moving on to this next step, and it's like, are we going to survive, are we going to thrive, or are we going to be like individual, are we going to fade away from each other? And so like he just sent me like some contact details for some super high level CEOs at some like of the target client companies that I'm trying to work Monera's into, and some of the other companies and some of the mastermind sessions and all the work that I do. And so like he gave me this insanely valuable resource and connection to someone I would never have otherwise known. And now it's like my turn, right? Like I got to add a ton of value here so that we can move up together, right? And so the best way to do that is time, right? Is to commit time to one another and spend 4 or 5 hours working through problems, going through challenges, and having these connections and these movements as an individual basis. They're going to fundamentally explode like the long-term prosperity of that relationship, which is so huge. And it all stems from realizing that there is an insane amount of value in relationship asset, and the instant that you can expand your power base in the mastermind and the group around you, you can have such huge levels of success by diversifying the world around you and making sure that you're working with the best possible mastermind, the best possible social group, just like what these guys are doing. So with Rock Solid Friendship, they try their best and they're really going hard, but unfortunately, like all of these events and all these things they try, they just don't do it for them. They don't really connect on anything because they don't really share any of the same like basic interests. And if they're trying to get up this portion at the beginning on their own, they really wouldn't be able to. They probably like wouldn't normally be friends. But because they have like a connection already with Pinkie Pie and with the main six, like they've already taken this leap, and they come to realize that like the biggest thing that brought them together and holds them together and should keep them together, it's actually their connection with Pinkie Pie, right? And so because of their connection with Pinkie Pie, like they both really care about Pinkie Pie. And so they have like this common friend, this common person that they really, really care about. And so that single connection is what actually facilitates this relationship. They grow close together and they decide that they're going to befriend each other and move on to this next stage of growth. Not really because like, they get anything from it or they're building anything, but it's more like they want to strengthen their connection with Pinkie Pie because they both really care about Pinkie Pie. And she's like one of the most important. She's Maud's sister, and then she's also one part of the main six. She's very important to Starlight and Maud, and they both really, really, really care about this relationship. And so that's their bonding point. That's their connection point, and that's their reason to spend time together. That's the reason to try to push this up to the next level and have the most success possible in this relationship and in this friendship. Is to get this deeper connection and strengthen the mastermind and strengthen the connection that they already have in their power base that is already existing. And so they connect and they have this solid relationship and they grow and they grow. They make it to the next part because they both know that they will materially benefit from this increased quality of relationship and these connections with one another and these friendships, which are so huge. It all stems from this single connection to Pinkie Pie, who is the facilitator, who is the baseline operator, and the reason that they push it to that next level and have this deep friendship instead of just letting it fade away like so many people like accidentally do or just manage to on act. It's just bad. You want to like really focus on getting the most that you can out of everything you got, which is exactly what these guys do, which is like the coolest thing ever. So yeah, awesome. Okay, Fluttershy leans in. So this is like so cool. She's been, she started the show, super shy. And then like over time, right, she's been developing her assertiveness, which is like awesome, right? Like it's the coolest thing ever. And so because of that, like she's decided, and she's been working so hard for such a long time. Because this is not just like her personality, but this is also her career, right? And she's like right here now. And so because she's right here, she's starting to expand her career. She's starting to expand, she usually just like took care of animals at her home. And I guess she was just like, that's what she did. But now she realized that she wants to grow and she wants to have a bigger impact and she wants to do more and have a greater impact on the world around her, which is like the coolest thing ever, right? And that's the goal, is to just keep growing and expanding and really have this change that you desire on the world. And that's exactly what she does here. It's super cool. And so she says that instead of just like taking care of everybody in her home and just having her home always infested with animals, she like can't grow that way, and she can't scale that way, and she can't move up and up and up that way. And so she decides that she wants to build like this huge animal sanctuary in the forest, right? And she wants to be able to take care of everybody in this like open, natural environment It's not like a zoo, or it's just like this big open green land where everybody can come together and they can live and they can survive and they can thrive. Because remember, there's not really like any like forest, except for the Everfree Forest, which is like super dangerous and has a bunch of evil things in it. So she wants to make like a safe one that everyone can come together and live in like a sanctuary for all the animals, right? And so that's her goal. And she has her goal. She sets her goal and she says, look, this is the one thing that I want, and I'm going to turn it into a reality. So how does she turn this into a reality? Well, she knows she can't like do it on her own, and she's going to take like a group of others, a collection, right? Like, it's just so much easier to build like huge projects when you have tons and tons of people on board that know what needs to happen and are able to work on what they're very good at and just sort of ignore what they're not. Like, if she tried to do this on her own, it'd be like ridiculously difficult. And so she gets like construction ponies, and she gets designers, and she gets like this guy who's like really, really good at planning out like buildings. And they get everyone together, and she brings them all to her home. And she tells each of these, three, what she wants and what her vision is and what her one thing is and how she wants to have this huge animal sanctuary, and it's going to be the coolest thing ever, and everyone will be able to be free and roam around and just like row themselves, right? Which is like the coolest thing ever. And so that's kind of like exactly what she paints to these guys. And after she pitches this to them and says this is why this would be like the coolest thing ever, what happens is like so crazy. So everything goes down, everything goes through, and then like instead of like listening and saying, okay, cool, sounds like a plan, or instead of giving feedback and saying, okay, well, here's how we can work this out, here's how I can make this happen, based on my experience in construction, this is how this can work out and how we can make this reality. Each of them, they sort of take what Fluttershy said and they internalize it, and then they look back at the project and they say, you know what? No. I think, we should do this thing this way, and I think it should be this way, and I think it should be this way. So all three of them have these differing visions that go against what Fluttershy, who's the leader of this whole operation, against what her one thing is, against her vision, against her desire, against her dream. And they go off on their own way, to do their own thing, and to focus on making it their way. Which is just ridiculous. It's total bogus. And so instead of coming together as a mastermind, they split off. And they lose the power of numbers. They lose the power of each other. And instead they try to do things on their own. And on their own, they are so much less constructive. And they can never be what they could be as a group. And it's just a terrible, like, it's this idea that, like, to make this project a reality, they need to take a short-term pain of like not getting exactly what they want and not having the exact image that they want become a reality, so that they can have this long-term development of the sanctuary. And so, because of that, they need to walk away from their own vision and instead figure out how they can contribute to the group. But that's what they do not do, and they just can't do it, which is just ridiculous. And this is like the quickest way to get fired, right? Is like Fluttershy literally specifically tells them not to do something, and then they go and they freaking like do it, and they start hanging curtains everywhere and bringing cages in. And it's just like ridiculous, crazy mess all over the place, because they're unable to walk out of their rigid mentalities of how this should be and how we should have this decorated and how we should have it designed. And they can't step back and look into this mastermind vision and what everyone could do together if only they combine their skills and leverage each other's strengths and focus on this goal. Because Fluttershy paints this goal, she paints this sanctuary very, very well and with vivid detail. But these guys just freaking ignore her, which is the worst thing you can do. They do not, and this is the one key thing that you guys are going to be amazing at, right? Listening. They don't listen. It's ridiculous. It's straight bogus. It's insane. You've got to listen. You've got to listen. It's the most important part. And these guys are only thinking about what they want to do when they listen to what Fluttershy is explaining. And in their mind, they're like completely tuning out the other person. They're completely tuning out Fluttershy and only focusing on what they want to do. And it's like this problem that so many people have is like when someone else is talking, in their head, they're thinking, okay, what can I respond to this? How can I rebuke to this person what they're thinking? How can I comment back and say something that's smart or say something cool? Or how can I one-up this guy? And stop that! You can't do that. That's exactly what these guys are doing. They're focusing on their own desires and their own beliefs and their own patterns in their mind while listening to Fluttershy. You cannot do that. You have to sit there and look straight into someone else's eyes and listen so intently that there is no mental space, there's no capacity in your mind to think of anything else or to try to plan anything else. You don't want to be planning what you're going to say to somebody while they're speaking to you. You stop it, right? It's this idea of like prejudice, and when you go into a situation and you think that somebody is going to be a total and complete failure and everything they think is bad. Great example. Like this one guy, he came out and he's like pitching the stock, and I was like, yo, I know this company is bad. And it was just a while ago, a long time ago. And so I didn't have this concept mastered. And so there was this one company, and I'm like, yo, this is like a scam sketch company. It's really bad. And so goes through this whole pitch and says why it's like the coolest thing ever. And in my mind, the entire time he's speaking, just like these guys, I'm thinking, this is awful. I'm going to tell him how bad it is. This is the reasons it sucks. And I was looking through it from a negative point of view. It was not constructive to the group, just like what these guys are doing right here. They're looking at it through their own point of view. It's not constructive to the group. And so because of that, this idea, this perfect vision, this idea of like a great investment fades away and gets destroyed. And what happens in reality is all of a sudden, you're only focusing on the negatives. You're only crushing the vision and only thinking about what you want. And so you don't get to this final vision. You don't get to the end goal. And instead, it just focuses completely on yourself. And so for me, like, it just destroyed the conversation. And I was totally unable to see what this guy was pointing out and the facts and the figures and the real, like, legitimate arguments he was making for this company just flooshed over my head. You can't say I already know something, and you just have to be open to listening and taking it in. And his words and his arguments, they were flying past my face, flying past my ears, because all I could think about was myself. And it was a terrible situation. The company goes and has a freaking huge run-up, massive growth. Afterwards, that like I totally should have been a part of, but I wasn't, because I was closed-minded and I wasn't listening to what this person said. I wasn't focusing on like what they thought was important and how they saw this huge potential for a cool, great project. And instead, I like tried to run away from them, and I didn't participate in the mastermind. Didn't make that connection, and because of that, like it fades away. So you want to come into these situations like open-minded, and ready to listen, and excited, and passionate, and like super pumped to do what others desire and listen to their vision. Because so often a vision might not be as good as yours, but if you can get a team behind it and you can work with others, it can have such a greater impact and a greater scale and a greater leverage, and it just a huge amount of success in the marketplace based solely on the idea that it's going to suck at the beginning, but in the end it's going to be worth so much more, which is like the coolest thing ever. It's so powerful, and that's really the huge goal with that, and the training that goes with that. It all stems from these movements, which is like so awesome, and that's why you got to focus hardcore on opening your mind, listening, and doing what the group desires. And what happens here is Fluttershy, she basically like, these guys, they go and they do it their own way and they do it wrong, and they just don't listen to her whatsoever, and they make like this construction, like a building with walls, and it's just terrible. So she has them knock everything down, and she destroys all of their progress, destroys everything they did, fires all of them, and then has to bring on a new team that accepts her vision and that does what she says. And they built this beautiful animal sanctuary, and we'll see it, throughout the rest of the show. But it's just this huge, open, beautiful land where everyone can live in harmony and in peace, because she was able to build the right team. And sometimes you get the wrong team members at the beginning, and you have to test them out, and you have to give them a chance. But for Fluttershy, she gave them a chance. They just didn't listen. They just didn't do the right thing. So you've got to cut your losses quick and just fire them if they're not performing. Slow to hire, fast to fire is the real principle and the mentality that I've adopted, and it's worked insanely well for me. I give people like our bad employees at the beginning, they're probably going to continue to be crap, and you don't want to fix other people. You just want to hire people that are like already awesome, and so that's the goal, right? And you want to be awesome, because no one really wants to fix you, right? It's all up to you to develop yourself, and that's exactly the mentality she takes, and it works out extremely well. And she gets this huge project finished very quickly, which is awesome. Awesome. Okay, if you must find fault, this is the way to begin. And it's this idea that like you really, really, really want to humble yourself, because other people, they want to feel significant, they want to feel important. And so if you can bring yourself down and have this like temporary sacrifice of ego, it's going to allow you to much better connect with others, and then have this huge, huge, huge connection and relationship with them that's much, much more powerful than if you were ever trying to like get more for yourself at the beginning. Because if you get more for yourself, it's going to make the other person reject you, deject you, and then the whole thing just crashes down, and it's a bad, bad, bad situation. And so, obviously you need to approach this like, this is like with behavior and attitude, right? This idea that you have this total and complete connection with others, and you work through this as a group and do the right thing, and just completely cut off the crap where you're like temporary gain but a long-term loss. And so find fault, this is the way to do it, and this is a concept that's talked about so much more in the 1 Minute Manager. So like, highly recommend it. It's a really good book, Manager. It's awesome. So it's this idea that you want to begin with praise and honest appreciation. And you want to give very, very specific, praise, appreciation. And focus very tightly on what is the awesome thing that you did. What's the coolest thing ever? And the ratio that these guys suggest is about a 7-to-1 praise to criticism ratio. So 7, compliments per 1 criticism. And you can call it constructive criticism, you can call it whatever you want. I don't care. I have so many people I know that I totally avoid at this point in my life, because all they do is criticize. And it's like, maybe they'll give me 1 compliment, 1 criticism. And that criticism feels like crap, and it makes you feel like, oh my gosh, that sucks, right? And even if it helps you, even if it like begrudgingly takes you to another level, like you're going to sort of not like the person that criticizes you, because it makes you feel bad, right? People point out flaws, it hurts, right? And even if it's true, they're going to get defensive. And if you get defensive, you don't really like the person who's criticizing you. And that's pretty much like exactly why it's so important to focus on compliments and focus on making people super happy. Because if you can make people happy, they're going to like you, right? And they're going to have huge, positive connections with you. Like, even if you just like go around and tell someone that they're the coolest person, like seriously, try this, right? Like, people will mimic the way you treat them. And so if you follow somebody around for like a week, and at every chance that you have, you see them, you give them a huge hug, and you say, oh my gosh, I love you, it's great to see you, you're having an amazing day, you look great today, I really like to hang out with you, you're like the coolest person ever. That person is going to naturally sort of reflect those compliments back towards you, and they're going to feel the exact same way towards you, with persistent and like if you just do this over a consistent period of time, it's like ridiculously easy. Like, all you have to do is be insanely positive, and you'll have them start to make this connection over and over and over again. Great example. We had this fire drill a little bit ago, and it was like the middle of the night, and it was past bedtime at 8, so it was like probably like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and so this fire alarm goes off for the drill, and like everybody's got to like leave the building, right? And so I just like kind of am like livid, because like I'm so tired, and it's like, why would they have a fire drill after bedtime? I just think that's insane. And so everyone comes outside, and like I'm standing outside. I've just got like a towel and some flip-flops and some socks on, some really nice socks. They were like these huge tall socks. They were awesome. I loved them. So I got a towel and I got my socks on. And this other guy comes out, and he's in the same situation. He just got out of the shower, and all he has on is a towel. And so we just come over each other, hug each other, say like, hey, best day ever, having an amazing time, can't believe it's so great, really love to see you, awesome time. And focus like exclusively on this positive energy, this positive emotions. And like everyone else is like everyone's like just around us there, like, who are these 2 idiots who didn't put shirts on? But we're having the best time ever, right? And at the beginning, like what I did was, as I went to this guy, and all I did was give praise and appreciation and say like, oh, nice, very, very specific compliments and specific connection, like just positivity towards the other person. And so what happens? I don't know how this guy's day was going before this fire drill, but he mirrors that, right? It's like you mirror the emotions that come towards you. And so he comes back in the same way, gives me a huge hug. We connect with each other and become like super awesome friends, right? From this point forward, this was like that first thing, and now we're at this level right here, and then over time we'll go higher and higher and higher as we start to connect more and more, or fade away. So it's at this point, right, where we have to decide, like, you want to keep going and make it hard and keep pushing through to develop this friendship or not. And so of course you got to make a decision and go work towards it and commit your time and energy to what matters, right? And so for this, like, this matters, right? So at the beginning, like, the fastest way to get this initial gap and to have this initial connection and to get like 80% of the way up here that you need to have this super, super deep connection, is to just be like ridiculously positive and nice to someone, and just like 100% all over. Like, if you just keep getting closer and closer and closer to somebody and just constantly are like with them, it's going to be so effective at connecting with them, which is like the coolest thing ever, right? And so that's really like the basic behind honest praise and appreciation, and this idea that you want to give so many more compliments than you ever give criticisms. Like, I don't care if like they look like a total idiot. Like, don't criticize someone until you've complimented them at least 7 times. Even if it like change everything for them, they're only going to take that criticism seriously, and they're only going to listen to you if they have this positive relationship and this positive backing of you at the beginning, because of all the positivity and the compliments that you've given them before you have this criticism. You have to have this connection here before you criticize, which is like the coolest thing ever, right? So please. And so, like, how can you apply this, right? So when you're going to criticize somebody, and when you do want to tell them, you know, this, you've got like a problem, or they need to do something differently, or you're not happy with what they're doing, or the work, or the output, or whatever, like, it's this idea of like, you know, honey coating or sugar coating what you're telling them, and sugar coating criticism, or, you know, buttering them up, right? It's just this very simple idea that you want to give them this very genuine and specific compliment and butter them up before you deliver the punch, right? And so just, you know, say something like super awesome and try to get like that seventh compliment, or that 8th compliment, or that 9th compliment, or that 10th compliment in right before the punch, right? And so, like, what I might say is, some of my editors are like the coolest guys ever. I love them. They're so amazing, and they're like just the best. I don't know what I would do without them. I love them. And so, like, if I really like, I have this thing I do where, like, you know, you have the video, and then you kind of like zoom in on the video, and it looks really cool, and it's like it looks like you like zoomed in, like the camera zoomed in, but like it's just in post-production. You just kind of like crop in like inside of the video. And I do it for like all my sales videos. I do it for all the YouTube videos that I edit, but I just don't have time like to edit everything myself. And so, like, I really like it when like they, you know, they'll obviously like transition between cameras, but also it's like super cool when they have like this cool like zoom in effect that they do digitally. And it's like this, it takes a little bit extra time, but it makes it look so much better. And so, like, I really love when people do that. It makes me like super happy, and it's like the coolest thing ever. And so, like, but I'm not going to go out the gate and say like, do this, you know, your film is bad if you don't do this. Like, that's a mean thing to do. That's going to portray you as a negative person, right? It's going to crush you. And you don't want that to happen. And so, like, what I'll do is like, all I'll try to do at the beginning is build up this relationship super quickly, because I love, like, you have to have a deep connection with people that you work with. And so at the beginning, it's all about building up this rapport and just being ridiculously nice and positive and going hard and saying, yeah, great job, right? Like, you want people to like you and to like being around you and to feel special when they're with you. And then, you know, you get to this stable relationship. And that's when you start to inject all those extra compliments and do more and more. Because at the beginning, like, you might do 10, 15, 20 compliments before you ever get to a request, where you ever get to a criticism, where you ever ask someone to do something differently. And so that's like exactly what I'll do, right? I'll give very specific praise and compliments about the work that they're doing, like, up and as they go and go. And tons of compliments at the beginning, and so many very specific, you know, praise and also appreciation, right? Because I really appreciate the work these guys do, and it means a lot. And so, like, I totally connect with them, and it's legitimately appreciated. And then I add a ton of value to their lives, right? So that we're going up on this relationship curve. And only after all this work has been done, only after, like, you know, weeks and weeks of connection and compliments, will I ever even consider asking them to do something like this, or, you know, generally suggest, you don't want to command it, just like carefully suggest, hey, it would look really cool if you did this zoom in thing. and just kind of implant the idea into their head and try to get them thinking about it and get them applying it so that they think it's their idea, and they will like to do it more, and they'll feel happier doing it when they think that it's their idea and it's their thing to work on, because all of a sudden it's all them, and they believe wholeheartedly that this matters for their work, and it matters for what they do. And that is so powerful, and it all stems from your ability to make people like you and connect with you and work on the same page by just destroying and eradicating all negativity and focusing instead exclusively on the compliments and on the praise and on the appreciation. And when you do get to the point where you're making this suggestion or you're making this criticism or you're trying to get people to do something, the best way to do it, again, is to just subtly say, you should try this out, or it would look really cool if you did this, or don't you think this would be a good idea? Ask them a question and let them answer it and let them come to the conclusion on their own. But if you're going to give a direct command or say, directly to change something, then right before you do it, you want to say something super nice, like, I really, really, really like the way that you dressed today, or I really, really like the way you did this one thing. Oh, and by the way, and, right, huge. Use and, not but. You don't want to say, I really like how you did this project, but it would be better if you did blah, 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 blah. Because when you say but, it crushes this relationship, and it makes them think that everything you said before that point is total bogus and BS. And so you don't want to say but. You never want to say but. Instead, you want to say and. You want to say, I really, really like how you did this project, and I really, really like X, Y, Z, this very, very specific praise and appreciation. And wouldn't it be cool if you did this? Or, and would you please do this as well? Would you start doing this, or would you make this change, or would you do this thing? And on top of this positive thing, I have this one constructive criticism. And these constructive criticisms should be few and far between, so that they don't take it negatively and they realize that, okay, sure, you bet 100%, and they're happy to do this because you've put in the positivity, you've put in so much positivity before you make this request, before you make this criticism. And at that point, everything becomes so much more effective, and it's just super easy to have the impact that you desire and the change that you want in the lives that you work with, which is the coolest thing ever, and it's super awesome. So really powerful strategy there.